Oh man, do I love food. The LA Times even took notice after I ate at Hugo's nearly every day for 32 years. It was just blocks from my home in West Hollywood. And now I've moved to the motion picture and television fund here in Woodland Hills. And my obsession for good meals continue to simmer. Join me as I explore our food options here on the Wasserman campus.
Look at that photo of us, Paul.
Not a bad photo. Hello, you guys, and welcome to the original Foodie.
Hey, Phil, this is Billy Harris. That's Paul Vitagliano. We are business partners. We produce some of the best culinary events in the country, public and private. I'll give you a little back end very quickly, is that I started working with the Food Network in 1993, 1994. I guess that's 28 or 29 years ago. Funny guy with a microphone, got sucked into it, just started hosting culinary events, didn't know anything about food. Jump cut 30 years later, I'm hosting 100 culinary events a year, all over the country. It's a combination of hosting culinary events and philanthropic events, because with the rise of the celeb chefs and philanthropy went hand in hand over the past 20 years. Paul and I met about 10 years ago at the Aspen Food and Wine Festival. And I was really, really looking for a partner to expand the Billy Dinner Series and work with great charities and nonprofits and great chefs. And Paul and I were introduced through mutual friends, and jump cut 10 years later, and about 200 live events and over 100 virtual events, including a whole bunch of great stuff for the MPTF. And, that's our whole world, is food and chefs and fundraising. I mean, we've raised, I don't know, in the past 10 years, probably $40-50 million. And I've probably raised another 200 million on top of that, all with food and chefs and fundraising. It's a bizarre niche, but that's the niche.
But the backstory, Phil, with how we sort of met, I used to sell business aircraft. So I was doing that for about 8 years. And I used to see Billy because he would host all these charity galas around the country. I had no idea that that was actually a thing, that there was a professional host that just went around the country and hosted hundreds of events every year. And then in Aspen, we kind of had an introduction, and then we were on a delayed flight. And I said to Billy, well, who are you? What do you do? Is that a thing?
Is that a thing? That was your exact line. Is that a thing?
Because I'm just I'm an aircraft salesperson. I don't know. I don't know how people roam around the country and host glamorous, beautiful events. So that's kind of how the friendship started. And then that developed into a business partnership later on.
And just so you know, that was the exact line. And is that a thing? Was his, like, you fly around and host events, and is that a thing? And I'm like, it is. It's a bizarre profession. Right. And just like I said, someone sells private jets to people. And I guess that's a thing too. So especially in this town. So why are you the original foodie? That's what I want to know.
My father was in the produce business. So I got into the food service business through my father, through some of his customers. And I worked at the Ambassador Hotel and at Al's Broiler and various and sundry places all over Los Angeles. And I was a fry cook for about 10 minutes, and just too much heat in the kitchen.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. And that's something I just really, never liked. But then I came here and we put this together, and with the help of Jen and other folks, I see, Jen is with us.
The very humble original foodie did not tell you he had a key to Hugo's in West Hollywood, which is what made him the original foodie. And you got to tell them about the Musso and Frank's experience that we had for their 100th anniversary.
We were at a presentation at Musso and Frank that they were sponsoring to raise money for MPTF. And there were about 6 of us residents that were invited to attend. So naturally, I did all I could, paid off whoever I had to get in that line. So we went to Musso's. As you walk in from the parking lot and walk down those steps and come up to the front of the restaurant, that part of the restaurant, which was dark, was also used for past pieces of memorabilia. So one of my fellow residents comes and she says, "Phil, you got to come and see this." And I go over and see it. And in under a piece of glass is a 3-hole notebook, and there it's open to a page, and with various names on the page. And in the center of that page was Steve McQueen, and that was obviously why it was open to that page. And this book happened to be a list of the Musso and Frank credit card. And 2 signatures below Steve McQueen was my name. And that's what she had seen. And so she brought me over to show me this. And yes, I've had a Musso and Frank credit card for 40 plus years. Sometimes I go there and I put the card out on the table and the waiters don't know quite what to do with it. It's not an Amex. It's not a Visa. It's not a MasterCharge, but it's just a lovely green card with a wonderful number on it.
So are you a veteran Hollywood guy, TV guy, movie guy as well?
I started in 1963 as a talent agent, and then in the late 60s went into personal management and had my own personal management company for 50 years. And represented a lot of folks over the years.
I wanted to hop on because this is such a great opportunity to find out a little bit more about the shift that you guys had to make. I know with the fundraising events that MPTF has done, it was transformed when you got involved. Billy, you taking on the hosting for the virtual events made them the success that they have been. And we could not be more grateful. Tell us about what that transition was like for you, because I don't imagine that was your ideal.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And thanks for that. Paul and I are always proud of everything that we've created, which was, fear is a great motivator. It was born out of necessity. We were actually in New York, Paul and myself. We had like 2 huge events in New York City. There was a Meals on Wheels event with Chef Daniel Boulud that I was hosting. And at the same time, we were producing for International Women's Month for all the Soho houses in North America. They have obviously in LA alone, they have downtown Hollywood, Malibu, Chicago, Miami, New York, and Toronto. So we had a whole tour scheduled for March of 2020. And we actually did the LA event and we did the Miami event. And we got to New York and we pulled this off, and it was all in the news and things were starting to close and what should happen. We flew back. Paul got COVID. I didn't. And somehow, some way. But, we had mega events, not just in 2020, because we work, a year out, when Sherry Lansing hires us, or even MPTF, 6 months, 8 months, a year in advance, because everyone's fighting for the same dates on the calendar. Right. So we had a 3-week window from the end of March of 2020 with everything that were hired for and scheduled, and even stuff potentially just disappear like everyone else, not knowing when these events were going to come back. And God is my witness. My sister calls me up and says, call Shelly, an old family friend. Her husband is a, Silicon Valley executive, exact words, and he got a job at some place called Zoom. That was her text to me. And I had heard of Zoom being a, business to business video conferencing thing. So the hardest part, Paul and I had all the chefs that we work with, right? We have all these restaurants that we work with. We have all our partners that we work with, if it's wine or, cocktails or, water companies and, you name it. And everybody was trying to figure it out. So our first event, proud to say, was the first week of April. We were dark for 3 weeks. And I'd say our biggest challenge right off the bat was, okay, we have the chefs, they can cook all the food. We're going to use this Zoom thing. I guess people will sign on from their house. How do you get 5 courses, to reference Wolfgang again, because we've done probably a dozen events with Wolf. How do you get 5 courses from Spago with wine and cocktails and water, and it be perfect to people's front doors That's like part one. And then you're like, we'll figure out the Zoom thing. I guess you open up your box and there's food and Wolfgang tells you how to cook it. And someone shows you how to, make a cocktail. We've even branded these little mini Billy cocktails that have my ugly mugshot on it,
I have 2 of those.
And, but yeah, I that one, but we were so far ahead of the curve, Paul and myself, than anyone in this space, because we had everyone. We just had to connect the dots.
I think, Billy, the other thing too is that because everything shut down, we had this opportunity to access talent. So, performers like Pink or Seal or Lisa Loeb, on and on and on. They were now also sitting at home doing nothing. So we were able to bring in really great performers or really great talent. I don't think in a pre-pandemic world, though, none of those talent are just hanging out waiting for Paul and Billy to give them a call. So we kind of, it was a great opportunity for us, and it made us really efficient. Before this, we might be able to produce a handful of galas a year. Last year, we did, I think, close to, 50, Billy.
Yeah.
And these
times 2 years. So we've done almost 100 now, which is crazy.
Yeah. And that just wouldn't be possible. I mean, to go to New York for, an event or something, that's a 3-day commitment where we can produce it, remotely. So it became very efficient, and we were able then to keep doing more content and cook-alongs and concerts. So for us, these last 2 years, yes, they were a little scary in the beginning because we really did not know what we were going to do.
Yeah.
Because when you see your calendar go from 100 different things and every few minutes you're getting an email saying cancel, you just start like you panic a little bit.
Or a lot of it.
And then you pause and think, well, are we doing anything? What are we doing here? And then you kind of, you get over the shock of it and then you get to it. So I think our partnership, we've been really lucky that we've had the strengths. Billy is really the spokesperson for us. I very rarely speak. I'm mute.
This is the most you've spoken in 10 years, Paul.
Exactly. So it's a rare treat to hear me. But yes, it sort of worked really well these last 2 years. And we've met and sort of collaborated with so many great companies, charities, organizations, all sorts of things. So it's been really a rewarding couple of years for us.
I was going to say the thing you were talking about in terms of talent and how their schedules also cleared. The other piece of that transition was for many talent, you could never come into their home.
No.
They didn't, that was a sanctuary.
Yeah.
And Zoom afforded that opportunity for okay, I'll give you this corner is all you get to see, but you are now in my home. And I think that lent to a little bit more of people being comfortable to be candid.
Yeah.
And the generosity that has also come through that, not just that it's the backdrop of the pandemic that has forced us all to do things like this, but that it's the backdrop of the pandemic. And what an amazing opportunity to get people rallied around a cause that's meaningful to all of them. And hopefully it made even more generous contributions to happen.
Yeah.
I think for many charities, part of their major fundraising is doing their galas or their events. And, there's obviously other ways to fundraise as well. But for many of the charities that we collaborate with, it was a real shock. And different charities had different varying sort of success rates. Some were more successful than others. But some of the most successful that we produced and hosted galas for, they were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars renting out, the Beverly Hills Ballroom, Hilton Hotel or anywhere in the country. And for very low cost, we were able to, collaborate and do something where they raised more money than they had normally raised. And some charities definitely fared better than others. It just depended on their mission. And, the LA Food Bank, they blew it out of the park because I think people in the community really understood that we had to rally behind the LA Food Bank because so many thousands of people were starving. So I think people also redirected their thought, bandwidth, and money to charities that really involved food insecurity, at-risk individuals, safety, all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. Thanks for letting us pop in.
Thank
No,
you guys
thank
so
you,
much.
and thank you very much, and thank you, Jen. And I would just like to leave us by saying to you guys, as I end all of my shows with, till we eat again.
All right.
Till we eat again. Thanks for your time, everybody. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank
Thank you, Phil.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
guys.
Phil. Jennifer.
Thanks, Jen.